What do you think is the way the current financial system, do you see it contributing at all to global inequalities or national inequalities, the way the current financial system is set up today?
Well, when we talk about global inequality, we see that it's kind of leveling off. It's remaining very high, but it's leveling off, and this is mainly due to the fact that inequality across countries is falling somewhat. Inequality within countries, within each country, remains high and needs to be addressed. But inequality across different countries is falling somewhat. Now, the contribution, we can talk about the contribution to growth for that, and the evidence we have over the last 20 years that growth has actually favored the reduction of poverty and make a lot of people move away from poverty to the middle class. That's one positive. How do financial markets contribute? Well, this is a big question. Since the 2008 crisis, we've had central banks pump priming a lot of liquidity into the system. And this liquidity initially has gone into financial assets. Why? Because banks found it more profitable to buy, say, government bonds yielding 4%, taking money from the central bank at zero, so doing this carry trade of getting money at zero and investing it at 4%. Found that a more profitable trade than doing what they're supposed to do, i.e. the commercial banks provide lending to the real economy. Now, in talking here specifically about the Eurozone, we see that credit and bank lending is moving again into positive territory. And this big bazooka, which the central bank, the ECB, has actually now started injecting all this liquidity into the system, is finally going into the right direction, i.e. not fueling a bubble in bonds and in equities, in financial markets, but actually going into the real economy via banks providing more lending to both the consumer and the corporate sector.
And now within that context, and also within the context of growth itself, do you see any short or long-term fixes to help ensure that inequalities within countries, for example, are reduced, particularly in places like the developing world?
Yes, it's a complex issue on how to reduce inequality within countries, especially in the developed world. Certainly, we need to have more transparency on what is going on there, because it's always sequestration of wealth by a minority of people, fraud, and this very small minority of people amasses huge wealth and does not redistribute it for the entire country. We just had the example, for instance, of which was mentioned in the conference, where the central bank in Nigeria found out that there was $20 billion missing in its balance sheet and sort of evaporated somewhere. We don't know where, but we know that it's a problem within the country. Taxation and increasing the progressivity of tax, which is the standard way of equalizing the distribution of wealth, is not the only issue here. That we need to have more transparency of what is going on, who's taking the money, and in some circles which are taking the money from where it should go, i.e. in the private sector.